your premier Arizona Cardinal podcast. Like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star. I'm Johnny Venerable. He's Bo Brack. We're live at the PHNX headquarters in downtown Phoenix. It's like Christmas morning, Bo Brack.
That's right. It's got a lot of juice today, Johnny Venerable. I mean, you started the day on staycation. And
that's over, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, your phone was hidden. Did your wife toss it in the river?
No one knows where she is. Good luck to her. This is
not her. Your phone.
Well, no, this is my new family now. I had to put to bed my other family this morning, and now I'm with my PHNX family.
That's
now
right.
She's doing well. We're doing well. The show's doing well. By the way, we've got almost 100 of you in here already. Hit that like button, and I mean, this was the most significant day I think of the entire offseason, save for the draft.
Yeah, it was. I mean, as far as continuing to clean house from the previous regime, we continue to see Steve Keim draft pick after draft pick shown the door. Isaiah Simmons, Josh Jones, a lot of respect for those guys. Obviously, we appreciate, what they did as far as the last 3 years, but as far as the future, the Arizona Cardinals paving the way for a newer and better product that's more consistent on the field and is going to win a lot more football games. And Monti Ossenfort, the name of the game is drafting and developing. He's stockpiling draft picks, but he's got an eye, at least in the near future, the quarterback position.
Yeah, I mean, listen, this is an easy day for us to sit here and bask and gloat, and there'll be some of that, absolutely, but it's also an idea of what this franchise is trying to do in the short term and the long term. What we have seen from Colt McCoy during the offseason is not good enough. And despite what you may think as a member of the national media, not a fan of this franchise, the Cardinals are going to try to be competitive this year. If they intended on tanking and losing all 17 games, they would have continued on the path with Colt McCoy, number 12. Colt McCoy's practice this week in Minnesota has been on the verge of disastrous. Interceptions, looking overwhelmed. So what did the general manager, Monti Ossenfort, do? He picked up the phone and he started making some calls. If you think for a second that the acquisition of Joshua Dobbs is simply to back up Colt McCoy, you're not paying attention. They pried away one of Monti Ossenfort's precious draft picks, right? Yeah. His draft picks that they don't throw away now as just gimmies on day 3 of the draft. This guy takes the draft seriously, unlike Steve Keim. He had to part ways with a 5th-round pick today to go out and get a competent, depending on what you feel about Joshua Dobbs, he's a competent NFL starting quarterback. He started last year. He's got upside. He's got a bigger arm than Colt McCoy, certainly more mobility. Most importantly, this show is the only show that told you back in March that the Arizona Cardinals and Jonathan Gannon wanted Joshua Dobbs. They tried to sign him for whatever reason. It didn't happen. They regretted it, clearly, and we talked about it on yesterday's show. It was a mistake not to culminate a deal with Joshua Dobbs. They have rectified that mistake today, and it's cost them a 5th-round pick.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you look for receipts, and we certainly have those. This was just yesterday, as it was tough times for the PHNX Cardinals podcast. We were at odds in the quarterback competition or lack thereof. It was just Colt McCoy's QB1, and then, of course, not a distant second, but a second to where I don't think the Arizona Cardinals wanted to and be detrimental to his development. Clayton Tune getting out there in the season opener. We've outlined how rare that is. This is what we were screaming about yesterday. Producer Damon, if you would. Last year, Jonathan Gannon was on the other side of the football.
We know definitively they were negotiating with Joshua Dobbs, and it was not very much money at all. It was close to the vet minimum. And they at one point, they walked away from that. I'm just glad we don't have to yell at each other anymore over Colt McCoy and your timeshare with him, that he can retire now in peace, and Bo and him can have a vacation with their wives and have a good time. But in all seriousness, Colt McCoy, I don't know what the plan is for him. Like, would anybody be surprised if he retired? They're not bringing Joshua Dobbs in. I see somebody in the back or in the chat respectfully saying, why are we trading a 5th-round quarterback to be a backup? He's not a backup. He's starting for this team. Like Clayton, you think they're cutting Clayton Tune, a pick of Monti? No, they're not cutting Clayton Tune. No. Kyler Murray will come back at some point. Like, if I had to guess today, it's going to be active on game days, Blau, Tune, Joshua Dobbs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Look at Illadre already hitting it. He didn't even have to put in the super chat. We would have brought this up, but we really appreciate 199 saying Dobbs actually fits Petzing's system. what is Monti Ossenfort's strength as a general manager? What was his strength in the Tennessee front office? Was identifying players, not only that are talented, but that come in and fit the coaching staff's schemes.
Yeah.
And that's what Joshua Dobbs does. Monti Ossenfort obviously has experience with Joshua Dobbs. He in the Tennessee front office brought him in for 2 games when Malik Willis couldn't hang at the NFL level.
Yeah.
They decided to roll with Dobbs, and sure, it didn't work out with him and didn't stop the bleeding, and they ended up with a 7-game losing streak to fall out of the postseason. But Joshua Dobbs went in there, he completed 50-some% of his passes, right? 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. He's mobile. You think back to his Tennessee Volunteer days. He's literally a rocket scientist as far as his training goes.
Yeah,
but
that's what he got his degree.
And then he the previous preseason, even to this preseason, he was with Cleveland, and the quarterback coach there in Cleveland was a certain guy named Drew Petzing. So Joshua Dobbs comes in with the skill set that I think fits this system very well. He comes in with experience with the play caller. He comes in with experience under the front office, the general manager, and is struggling Colt McCoy. It's not right now the case where he's QB1, but Joshua Dobbs immediately comes into this in striking distance of quarterback 1 of the Arizona Cardinals.
We have 17 days before the opener. Can Joshua Dobbs get ready in 17 days? I think, yes, he can. Now, is there a reality in which, like, Colt starts week 1? I would say there's a small reality that still happens, but they're going to do 1 to 2 practices with Dobbs and Colt McCoy. It's not going to be close. Like, Joshua Dobbs, I'm not sitting here and saying Joshua Dobbs is some franchise quarterback, but you got to think about, contextualize it from what the Cardinals were prepared to start with. Colt McCoy should not be a starting quarterback by any means in today's NFL. He had his foot out the door. Listen, if somebody's going to pay me $5 million to play in the NFL, I'm going to do that. I might not be the right person for that job. I may not be competent. Colt McCoy got $5 million from the Cardinals, and he's like, I'll be your starter. But then you watch him, he has no business starting. And I don't think he has a business, frankly, Bo, like being on an active NFL roster right now. You would rather, as people have seen, like, I guess I'll roll the dice with a 5th rounder out of Houston that shouldn't be starting either, but he's got the upside. The point that I was trying to make over the course of training camp, like, what were they doing to think that Colt McCoy over the course of the last 6 months is ready to lead this team? And now very much in the tea leaves, and we're going to get to this later, Bo, it's like they're prepared for Kyler Murray to miss 5-6 weeks. Yeah, he's going to be on the PUP list, and by no means is it a responsible move by this franchise, and they showed you today it's not, to start Colt McCoy for 6 weeks.
Yeah, Dylan Richards with the 199 super chat. I think that answers it right there.
Both.
Yeah, thank you for your super chat. Does this say more about K1's return or Colt's play? Absolutely. Yeah, it is both. And, to see that there's other, media members saying that it's Colt's job right now. Yeah, but guys, look, the ice is thin. And if you've seen him play this offseason in this training camp, he's going to, it's like the case with Yelda Froholt. Yelda Froholt has done a great job in fending off guys that they've brought in, guys with more experience at the position, right? But I just don't know physically if Colt McCoy can win this battle. I just don't, like, at least you can look at Clayton Tune, you could say, hey, physically, arm strength, everything, like Clayton Tune, the edge is there, but the experience he lacks, where you don't have that case anymore. And now I think we can bury the hatchet as a podcast. I think I can say, hey, I'm sorry you were a little bit wrong there for most of the preseason and training camp.
Wait a minute. What?
And we can be united front and say, okay, now in-house there is...
That's not an apology. I don't know what that was.
And now there is an option in-house that is a legitimate starting option over Colt McCoy.
Jalen Blair in the chat, Johnny's friend Gambo. We are friends. We DM regularly. He did block Bo Brack, so I think maybe this is directed toward Bo. Said Dobbs will most likely be the number 2 to back up. Okay. You think Ossenfort is trading?
as it stands right now, we're looking forward to the season opener.
Do you think Ossenfort is trading a 5th? Like, he's trading Isaiah Simmons for, scraps. He's trading a capable starting tackle in Josh Jones for a 5th. Like, he went out and got Joshua Dobbs because they fucked up, and they're admitting that they fucked up in March. Do you think that he would do this the same way if he could do this? No, he would go and sign Joshua Dobbs for free. The money that they were negotiating was nothing in the grand scheme of NFL money. It was, we said it yesterday, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars. It was almost the vet minimum. But you know what? At some point they said, you know what? Colt McCoy probably went to every meeting, every press conference, was in the building and was like, I like you guys. Like I'm here if you're interested. I'm under contract, and they probably talked themselves in. They did to Colt McCoy, but at the end of the day, it's like we can't roll with this. We can't have Colt McCoy out there throwing to our precious receivers and Michael Wilson and Rondale Moore. We got to see what we have in these players. Like, again, I get everybody wants to talk about tanking. There's tanking, and then there's just the sabotage of young players' development. The Cardinals are not in the business of that. Mm-hmm. They want to be able to create a culture where you can elevate Paris Johnson Jr. and Trey McBride and company. Colt McCoy's play, not the person, but his play was a direct deterrent of that. Mm-hmm. You cannot trot out number 12 on Sundays and get your players enthused about that. Get the fuck out of here. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, I did man up, and I did bury the hatchet. I think I was very humble in my apology to you.
That was a terrible apology. What are you talking about?
I mean, now we're a unified front, and that's what we want. As far as, I think, and when you think about Michael Wilson, when you think about Hollywood Brown, when you think about the receiving core that I think we're all encouraged by, or even in the backfield in James Conner, and not allowing defenses to stack the box and really gear up to defend the run, I think that Joshua Dobbs gives that conflict to the defense, where I think Colt McCoy, you couldn't necessarily say it. It's like it's either going to be a run or he's going to check down. It's going to be a screen pass or something underneath. Where Joshua Dobbs possesses the arm strength to throw the ball past the sticks and down the field and a little bit more accurately and a little bit more touch. Not a lot more, but then a fifth-round rookie in Clayton Tune. And he certainly has the experience.
We had some people in the chat saying that the JPA Twitter account going off the grid and basically declaring that the Cardinals are telling people behind closed doors that Kyler won't play this year. I have not heard that. I don't think there's any validity to that. The Cardinals are going to, like, if you believe the Cardinals are tanking, why would they make this move for Joshua Dobbs today? Like, ask yourself that question. I get it. People want to fawn all over Isaiah Simmons and Josh Jones, both backups, which you pointed out on Twitter. If they were truly tanking and didn't want to compete while Kyler was absent, you would just play Colt McCoy. You would become unwatchable, right? And then you could say, well, we'll give the baton to Tune at some point. Kyler's going to play this year. Barring something unforeseen, I still feel confident, Bo Brock, that whenever he's ready to play, he's going to play. I would say, to Ossenfort and Gannon's credit, today was a direct, what do you want to call it?
Indictment.
Indictment, but at the same time, I think going out and getting Dobbs shows everybody in that locker room, like, this isn't good enough. Like, we see the product against Minnesota and their defense. We see Colt McCoy doesn't have it. We're going to try to improve for this year. We like this guy. We liked him in March. He's going to help us right now. I think that's an investment in 2023, which a lot of people won't admit because it doesn't fit their agenda.
No, it doesn't. And a lot of people want to say that the moves today were telegraphing a tank. Just a full egregious tank. And a lot of people like to do that this time of season, right? They see rosters that are not up to snuff because on paper it hasn't proven or it lacks proven commodities across the NFL, where the NFL, if you pay attention, it changes. It's so fluid year in and year out. And guys that you think are solid players, their production falls off a cliff, and then people emerge, young players, it's a young players league, emerge and start to build up as solid players and star players. So I mean, it's really tough to figure out like which direction an organization's going. And the moves today definitely do not signify a team that's just getting rid of all its parts to bottom out. It's not. The roster is being rebuilt. It's getting taken down to the studs. And in this offseason, they've proven to do that. And they still had moves to make. And they wanted to give the benefit of the doubt to the player and figure out, especially with Isaiah Simmons and Josh Jones, were they worth holding on to for the haul of an entire season? And maybe looking and going to the negotiating table potentially next offseason. And they made the decision, and I think it's the right one, not to do that and to get whatever they could to return. But essentially, when you look at what the Cardinals did today, is they traded a third safety, maybe a safety. We don't know. I mean, he played the position
who really
for 2
knows?
weeks in the preseason. And then you had a swing tackle who hadn't beaten out Kelvin Beachum his entire career. For a fifth-round pick and a seventh-round pick. And people say, well, there it is. I don't need to see anything else. they're tanking for Caleb Williams, and Kyler Murray's career is likely done with the Arizona Cardinals. That's not what this says. This says that this is a rebuilding team that's accumulating assets, and they continue to be in that, and they continue to flush this roster of the previous regime's mistakes.
K1 in the chat, Dobbs is a difference maker, QB Johnny. He is not. I've never come on the show and said that. But it is malpractice in 2023 to start Colt McCoy for a team like the Cardinals. He is a bridge to Kyler Murray. That's what he is. He would have been a bridge in March, and they fumbled that opportunity. They would admit that behind closed doors. So Josh Jones cost them right now. You want Joshua Dobbs, it's going to cost you Josh Jones. That's basically what ended up happening, right? Josh Jones likely would have gotten a comp pick of a similar value next offseason. And you're going to get that in 2025. So they said, okay, we'll get that in 2024.
Yeah.
There's a team in Houston that, by the way, we own their first and their third. Not sure if you guys know this, are supposed to be terrible. We'll roll the dice. That's a high 5th round pick. Well, we got to get a quarterback because, unfortunately, Colt McCoy just doesn't have it anymore. We'll go get Joshua Dobbs. I think that's a more than fair trade. Like, okay, I'm admitting my mistake. I'm not compounding it like I'm Steve Keim, doubling and tripling down. I'm saying, okay, we should have signed a quarterback in the spring. We didn't. I'm going to invest in this year and my guys and get Joshua Dobbs. Because, again, Joshua Dobbs, to me, represents 4, 6, 7 weeks of steady ship, competent play in the same realm of a Gardner Minshew, a Jacoby Brissett, right, a Taylor Heineke. That's what you're getting. Not somebody that you want to build your franchise around or start 17 games. That was never the point. But the difference between Colt McCoy and Joshua Dobbs, and you all will see that, is the size of the Grand Canyon. Colt McCoy's out there completing 4.6 yards per completion in the preseason. Can't move, right? And his arm strength is toast. Joshua Dobbs is at least, 30 or under 30, can move and has a big arm, and has, most importantly, as you pointed out, a familiarity with Drew Petzing and company.
I mean, he immediately comes in, and he's probably the one that's most well-versed as far as this system goes, just due to his time in the preseason with the Cleveland Browns, where this was something that Colt McCoy had to pick up starting this past offseason. Dobbs has been in this system. He continued to play underneath this system this preseason as they had similar concepts and schemes in place from when Petzing left and what Stefanski still had there. So, I mean, I think that Dobbs, it's just, I joke about, being the bigger man and apologizing to my co-host for my role.
I appreciate
the slander that we threw at each other throughout this quarterback competition, and how I went with Colt McCoy, and I was going to err on the side of a veteran quarterback with experience over just Johnny's solution was just throwing a 5th round rookie out there. He still hasn't apologized to me for that. But now we can be this united front because we see that there's now an
worst person I know
option as far as Joshua Dobbs. And no, like, relative to where this quarterback competition was, yes, Joshua Dobbs should have the edge. He should be the guy. No, we're not saying he's one of the best 32 quarterbacks in the league. We're not. But I think that he gives you a solution, in the interim for when Kyler Murray comes back.
K1, Dobbs and 2 7s for Simmons and Josh Jones doesn't make a lot of sense value-wise. Well, no one wanted Isaiah Simmons. Monti Ossenfort didn't draft Isaiah Simmons. They wanted Isaiah Simmons out of town. They didn't want him a part of their locker room. He quit on the team last week, guys. Like, he was quitting on the players in the second quarter. So they're calling up everybody this week. Hey, do you want Isaiah Simmons? And the best they could get was a 7th rounder from a team they play in week 2 in the New York Giants. Like, that's Isaiah Simmons' value. It's like, we can make fun of Trey Lance and the San Francisco 49ers because his value is kaput. That's Isaiah Simmons for the Arizona Cardinals. They had to eat that because of Steve Keim. Josh Jones, on the other hand, is a valuable option for a team like Houston, and you get a 5th round pick. But the Cardinals had to clean up a mistake of the offseason because there's no way they can roll with Colt McCoy. So that's what they did. And I appreciate that. I also appreciate, they're not going to be complacent this year. I know that they're dealing away. Look at the players they're dealing away. They were Steve Keim draft picks, right? We talked about that over the course of the offseason. They will favor their guys. Why would Ossenfort come here and just say, well, yeah, I'm just going to give extensions to Byron Murphy and Zach Allen, guys I didn't draft, players I didn't know, right? Zach Allen got chokeslammed by, what's his name? Yelda Froholt in the first preseason game. Like, he's fine. Byron Murphy's fine. This team is building toward the future, and they're doing it with their own players. through the draft and through free agency and people they're connected with. People associated with this franchise under Steve Keim didn't develop. It was a byproduct of the coaching and development, and they just had some flat-out draft busts. Like Isaiah Simmons now, I think we can definitively say was a draft bust. He missed. The Cardinals missed on that. They missed on the player. Maybe they missed on the person. Just, I don't think loves football. Jonathan Gannon, I said this on our earlier emergency pod, Bo Brock, is a defensive back safety savant. And he let Isaiah Simmons pick his position to play this entire offseason. He's been playing free safety since March. They said, go and play that. We want to help you achieve what you believe you're worth. You may not get your extension here, but we're going to make it work for you. What did he do? He quit on the team. And so they're like, we got to get you out of here. We're going to make some calls. Good luck to you. We're going to go get somebody like a Reed Blankenship type because we're going to elevate a guy who is not going to make any money and is going to be about the team. We're going to find somebody undrafted or a late round pick or a veteran in his 20s, and they will do what you're doing, but we won't get the attitude. So I just, to me, it's like, this is refreshing for a person or persons in Gannon and Ossenfort to have complete control of this locker room. Like, say what you want about Michael Bidwell. You think Michael Bidwell wanted to give away Isaiah Simmons for a 7th round pick today? No chance, right? Yeah. This shows you Ossenfort is making all the decisions with this franchise.
I just want to answer, because I see in the chat, I just skimmed through this article, the news, or you can call it news. This is just, it's complete irresponsible speculation from Kyle Yates of Pro Football Network, just saying Kyler Murray isn't playing this year. He's just speculating. He has no inside information on that. The tweet has Josh Dobbs' name spelled wrong, so it probably should solid. It's always a good start.
Yep.
And there's no information, there's no concrete information, no sources that you should buy any stock into right now saying Kyler Murray is going to miss the entire season. That goes completely against what we've seen the entire training camp, even from when they placed him on PUP to start training camp. It's just that this Pro Football Network, it's irresponsible, really, what they're trying to package as news and reporting.
Yeah, he says our guy Ben Albright also mentioned something like that, but he didn't state it definitively. He just gave his opinion that he thought Kyler would be gone after this year. Like, you could have an opinion, certainly, and I think a lot of people who don't follow this team regularly would probably think to themselves, well, the Cardinals aren't trying to win games this year. They're gonna tank for Caleb Williams and they're gonna trade away Kyler Murray. But that's just an opinion. To state something that's factual, like I'm telling you here and now, Bo's that's not what the Cardinals are trying to do.
Right.
Kyler Murray's going to come back and play this year at some point, whether that's in week 5, week 7. I would say right now the acquisition of Joshua Dobbs lends itself to believe something that we didn't want to believe, but we'll face that hard truth now. Kyler's probably going to stay on PUP list through next week.
And to answer Mike A's question, what's the point of keeping the fans in the dark about K1's rehab status? I honestly don't think that they are keeping us in the dark. I mean, it's a fluid situation. It's something that they've maintained is not linear, and you feel one day, and then you have a setback the next day. Not saying he's had any significant setback or anything of note. He's been out there rehabbing and continues to attack his rehab, as the reports have been all off season, and that he maintained in that flight plan episode. So I really would discourage people from buying into any of this. Like a trade of Simmons, a trade of Josh Jones, an acquiring of Joshua Dobbs, that it truly impacts your ability to see Kyler Murray this season. I'm not seeing anything concrete. I haven't heard anything from our sources or around the organization that would say that Kyler Murray legitimately can miss the entire season.
I think anybody who would tell you that they know what this franchise is going to do in 2024 is lying to you, but their intention now is to evaluate young players and to try to win games this year. Again, Jonathan Gannon is not purposely trying to lose games. I think they're going to be competitive now with Joshua Dobbs, much more than with Colt McCoy. I see a lot of people in the chat, well, Cardinals are a poverty franchise. No, they're a rebuilding franchise.
Yeah.
Right? They're trying to do things differently for once. Did they make a mistake with Colt McCoy? Yes. And today, they said, hey, we fudged up. We made a mistake with Colt McCoy. We're rectifying that now, which is great. They're not doubling or tripling down. They're not going to serve their fan base a product that they can't be proud of, with Colt McCoy going out there and looking like somebody who, frankly, should not be playing football in 2023. Joshua Dobbs is not Patrick Mahomes, but at least he can move a little bit and he's got some arm strength. So I think at the end of the day, Bo Brock, this is an opportunity no, he's not, Shane Diefenbach. This is an opportunity for Ossenfort and Gannon to evaluate young players like a Rondale Moore, like a Trey McBride. How could you evaluate those guys with Colt McCoy? Like, there are like Trey McBride getting open last week and having the ball behind him from Colt McCoy, and then a 2-yard out route to Rondale Moore in the flat.
Yeah.
I want to see my guy Greg Dortch get opportunities. You're so hampered with what you can do with Colt McCoy. And again, that's not a knock on him, the person. He's 37 years old.
Yeah. I wonder how much insight JG had into this move that went down today for Josh Dobbs.
A lot.
In the last couple, dating back to when I talked to Gannon on Monday, and I said, do you feel comfortable with what you've seen from McCoy, and are you ready to name him QB1? And he said, we'll name starters when we have to name starters. He wouldn't commit to Colt McCoy.
What I understand is, and we mentioned this on yesterday's show, Gannon and Kevin O'Connell are very close. These practices are regimented, and they want to evaluate their own players, and Kevin and JG are putting themselves in a position to do that. They're working side by side simultaneously. So they're making guys uncomfortable purposely because Gannon doesn't know what he has. And I think it took about a half a day, maybe a full day of practice from Colt McCoy, getting away from the confines of State Farm Stadium and in Tempe, away from his guy and the comfort level of just saying, hey, Monty, we got to make a call here.
Yeah.
And I think that's what happened. I think that's, hey, we let's check in on our old friends in Cleveland because there's a rookie out of UCLA that's making things interesting for them in their quarterback room. Can we get my guy here? We need some help. And that's what happened.
Yeah, and I think the way that things went down this offseason, especially in the case of Colt McCoy coming off of we don't know for sure what the arm procedure was, right? But he had something done with his arm. He obviously came off of neck, calf, and head injuries as well last year. To try to evaluate him and also what's in place from the NFL CBA. I just don't think that they had a true good look at him until training camp.
Yep.
And you had this protocol in there just to get this guy healthy enough to where if he needed to play, he could play. And now here they are. I think they circled this joint practice on the calendar and said, hey, we're going to learn a lot about our team.
Yeah.
And they learned enough yesterday and getting their asses handed to them, and what James Conner called one of the most humbling experience, to where they said, hey, if we go with the status quo into the regular season, we're not going to compete. And they decided to make 3 moves today.
Yeah. And again, we talked about it yesterday. It starts with the quarterback, right? He sets the tone for the entire franchise. And I'm not talking about Kyler Murray. I'm talking about who they plan to start in the meantime. And that was Colt McCoy. So I think it's only a matter of time before Colt McCoy either retires or they name Joshua Dobbs the starter, and then whatever happens with Colt McCoy, again, we wish him the best, but we posed it on this program over the course of the summer, like, what's the likelihood that Colt McCoy is even on this team week 1? And it took them, I would say, a little too long, but they made this decision of like, yeah, this is not good enough. Do you think there's any way Colt McCoy still starts week 1?
I mean, he would have to. It would take a Herculean effort on his behalf to hold off Dobbs, I would say.
Say that one more time.
I think it would take a Herculean effort for, I think Colt McCoy, as it stands right now, continues to be, in Kyler Murray's absence, quarterback 1. But he's got, what do we say, 17 days to hold off Dobbs. And I don't know if he has the physical ability to do that.
He's a depreciating asset. He's not getting better. And the Cardinals desperately need somebody that can help them evaluate their young players, and that's not Colt McCoy. So again, it's a gamble right now, but I think it's a gamble that's going to pay off. Speaking of gambling, how about our friends at BetMGM? Any guesses as it relates to this line week 1 against the Commanders? It changed slightly because everybody thinks the Cardinals are tanking. The Cardinals now a 7-point dog instead of 6.5. Week 1 against the Commanders. I'm going to tell you right now, they got a better chance with Joshua Dobbs and Colt McCoy. I think that goes without saying. I think it also goes without saying, sign up with BetMGM. We're going to save you some cash. It's a great time to be on BetMGM. Every time I go on there, I feel like I'm getting bonus bets. That's because, how about bonus bets Friday? Sign up with promo code PHNX. Every single football Friday, you're going to lock in with some bonus bets. We're going to help you out, especially for our friends here in Arizona. Place your first bet offer, receive up to $1,000 back in bonus bets. You love to see it. Check out the full show notes for details. Now listen to my guy Shane Diefenbach talk about it in the disclaimer.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Colorado, D.C., Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 Massachusetts. 21 plus to wager. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP Arizona. 1-800-522-4700 Nevada. 1-800-BETS-OFF Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help Michigan. 1-800-981-0023 Puerto Rico. In partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. U.S. promotional offers not available in D.C., Kansas, Nevada, New York, or Ontario.
Regardless of what you think about the trades today, it's always a good time to celebrate with our friends over at Illegal Pete's. Check out all their Valley locations, including the one in Tempe. Go get yourself a burrito bowl, tacos, salads, nachos. Don't miss out on their signature custom cocktails, beers. Of course, that piping hot queso. Look at that. Those tacos look unbelievable underneath me here on the YouTube channel.
Fantastic.
Illegal Pete's is your go-to spot this summer. Stop by for happy hour, and it's not just this measly, you just missed a happy hour that lasts for like 3 minutes. It's a legit happy hour. It goes from 3 to 8 p.m. every day at all 12 locations. Especially check out that Tempe location. Illegal Pete's, the go-to spot for burritos, buddies, and beer for the last 28 years.
So there were a couple other moves today we haven't even talked about yet. So we touched on Simmons this morning. We're going to talk about more on Isaiah Simmons and what that means for the defensive back room here in a little bit. But Josh Jones, in the middle of this Joshua Dobbs, Isaiah Simmons sandwich today here on a Football Thursday, Josh Jones is gone. He got traded away to the Houston Texans for a 5th-round pick. And I think this is probably one of the more contentious trades today, outside of the people that love Isaiah Simmons, which there are many, that you're kind of helping the team that has the first overall pick with Josh Jones. I don't know if I see it exactly like that, but at the same time, I understand that mindset. Josh Jones, though, it was clear they showcased him against Kansas City. Kelvin Beachum started week 1 of the preseason against the Denver Broncos when DJ Humphries was out. He is the definitive swing tackle. He's under contract for 2 years. Josh Jones is a free agent this offseason, and I feel like they said, we would rather get a pick now than wait for a comp pick in 2 years.
Yeah, I think that's probably the right play. It's the safer play, and Monti Ossenfort is he seems to err on the side of caution. Just by re-signing Kelvin Beachum, I think that was a cautious move, and it turned out to where it created an asset for him to cash in on a draft pick that he ended up flipping for a guy who's going to compete for your starting quarterback position. But these guys that are from the previous regime that were drafted by Steve Keim, and Josh Jones and Isaiah Simmons, there wasn't, I don't think that they had a lot of margin for error. And when they didn't show that they were without a shadow of a doubt starters or impact makers that you could rely on consistently, and that's the key with both of these guys, to where they've shown flashes. Like, look, you saw Josh Jones for 11 games last season, and you love the Pro Football Focus grades because you can cherry pick those and say, he had a 75 Pro Football Focus grade, but he's always been a heavily penalized offensive tackle, right? And for the Texans, that's going to be so detrimental for C.J. Stroud and a rookie quarterback trying to get anything going. But it works for them, right? Titus Howard has the hand issue. He's probably going to miss some time. So you can put him and start him opposite Laramie Tunsil on that offensive line. They're already down their starting center. So it makes sense for the Texans. It made too much sense for both sides. Now the Arizona Cardinals, they have the Texans' 1st, 3rd, and 5th round draft pick in the 2024 draft.
Did they trade away their own 5th round pick for Joshua Dobbs? Do we know that?
Joshua Dobbs was, I believe, according to a Cleveland reporter, it was the Philly 5th round pick.
Which is great because that'll be the lowest you would assume out of all the picks. I wanted to see Josh Jones get an opportunity at some point this year. DJ Humphries, they moved all of his guaranteed money to this year. I think what this tells us is they did not want to invest in 4 tackles, which we talked about this offseason. Would they do that? Also, they don't want to invest in guys that are depth players that are going to be gone after this year, right? At the end of the day, it's like this franchise with Josh Jones and Isaiah Simmons, it's like these are backups that have expiring contracts. So why not try to get something for them now? I think DJ Humphries is year to year with this team. He's under contract next year. You can move off of him very easily. Let's see if he can play 17 games. Something he hasn't done in a while.
Yeah.
The Cardinals, I tweeted this out. They've got 2 top 10 draft picks, obviously, next year. Presumably. It could be lesser, whatever happens with this team in Houston. It's a supremely gifted tackle class. There are 3 to 4 offensive tackles headlined by Joe Alt from Notre Dame, who's we've talked about.
Yeah, he'll be on display this weekend, right?
7'2", 500 pounds. I mean, he's fantastic. If they want to double dip and have one of the most gifted tackle rooms in all the NFL, they could do that next year. They're going to keep their options open, or they could keep DJ Humphries. Kelvin Beacham's under contract. They had a surplus. They dealt from the surplus today to help themselves in the quarterback room. I have no issues with it.
You know, with Simmons and Jones, like, it would have taken them playing a heavy amount of snaps and taking a jump both respectively in their career as far as their play on the field for the Arizona Cardinals to get comp picks from these guys next free agency. And you just can't say, I mean, you get picks today, regardless of, you know, their late day 3 picks, but you get picks to where they could have just left for nothing next offseason. Like, there's a very good chance of that, especially Jones. Like, during his entire tenure, he never outplayed Kelvin Beacham. And that's not like a huge indictment on him. I think Beacham was one of the better signings over the last couple of years. But, I mean, the fact that a guy that Steve Keim claims he had a first-round grade on couldn't beat out Kelvin Beacham, I mean, I don't think you're losing. Like, the guy's ceiling can't be that high.
I think that if this franchise has not shown you in recent months, like a Greg Dortch, like, we're going to tender you, we believe in you and your tape. Okay, that's great. That's an endorsement of Greg Dortch.
Yeah.
But if you're a holdover from Steve Keim, if you're one of Steve Keim's draft picks, aka Steve Keim's cronies, right? You have an opportunity. It could be dealt.
Steve's cronies?
Could be cut.
Keim's cronies?
Keim's cronies. Yeah. Or you're gone. We're going to let you walk. I would say, like, again, if you're Hollywood Brown, you got to have a great year, or you're going to walk in free agency at this rate.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's just James Conner, Zach Ertz, these guys are making big money. Like, let's see what you do this year. We want good team guys, but at the same time, any affiliation to the prior regime and what they did to construct this roster, unless you are a made man or this team has doubled down this offseason, like a Dortch, like a Budda Baker, like, you're on the clock. I'm sorry. Just what's happening with Rashad Lawrence, I believe, right now, right? Unless you're competing to be a starter or a plus starter that gets an extension, like, there's not too many of those guys on this roster. Yeah. Like, I think it's a critical year for guys like Marco Wilson, Hollywood Brown, right? Expiring contracts coming up in the next year or so. You got to ingratiate yourself fast with this regime.
Absolutely. That extends to Zaven Collins, so another first-round pick. Do we have the list of Keim draft picks, first-round picks? Let's
avert your eyes.
Yeah, you might barf. 2013, his first pick, it was Jonathan Cooper, who ended up being traded. That was in the Chandler Jones trade, right?
Yes.
Okay. So
no, it was in the Chandler Jones trade. You're right.
So it was to a second, Jonathan Cooper to New England for Chandler Jones. 2014, I think you can say this is moderately successful. Dale Buchanan, he trades down. They take Buchanan, they move him from safety up to linebacker for the most part. They did pick up his 5th-year option, and then as soon as his contract expired, he was done. He spent a couple of years with the Tampa Bay Bucks. 2015, one of his more successful ones, DJ Humphries, redshirt year, his first year. Then he gets extended. He gets extended again. In 2016, my God, Robert Kondichi, he didn't even make it through his rookie scale contract. He was released before the end of that. Rasan Reddick, they declined the 5th-year option. He becomes an absolute stud, now one of the best edge rushers in the NFL, but they were playing him an off-ball linebacker. Josh Rosen, somehow, they were at least able to trade him. Going into his second year, he was traded to Miami for a 2nd-round pick. That turned out to be Andy Isabella. Kyler Murray was the 1-1. He wins the Offensive Rookie of the Year. He's a 2-time Pro Bowler. He got extended $230.5 million contract. And now Simmons has been traded. And then Zaven Collins continues to be on his rookie deal. So not a good look as far as that goes. And then, as we said, Josh Jones was in that Simmons draft 2020. He was the second player they took in that draft because they had their 2nd-round pick that went to Houston for DeAndre Hopkins. But Jones was 72nd overall. He said he had a first-round grade on him. And now he never consistently started for this team. And he's a member of the Houston Texans, where he started collegiately for the Houston Cougars pre-Clayton Tune. And this is going to be a good shot for Josh Jones to kind of find his way at the NFL level and take advantage of an opportunity.
Like, that wasn't a miss of a pick either. Like, I think he was coveted by some other teams. Like, it's why you should always invest in premium positions like that, because they always have a quality shelf life. Like, Josh Jones is probably, as sad to say, one of the more successful picks of the Keim era, just because He started games as a mid-round pick. He was around. I mean, like, think about the bar that we're utilizing here, what the graphic just detailed for you. It's shocking to me that the Cardinals were able to win as many games as they did during Keim's tenure with that kind of track record in the first round of the NFL draft. I think you need to be thanking two people right now, Kyler Murray and Bruce Arians. Those are the two people that have enabled Steve Keim, through no fault of their own, to remain employed because of their success, right? Yeah. Kyler Murray elevated Steve Keim. Bruce Arians elevated Steve Keim. You would be hard-pressed to find a worse man or GM that has drafted for an NFL team during a tenure that was given that amount of cracks, right? I mean, you got a 10% hit rate, and you're getting first-rounder after first-rounder. Yeah. We didn't even include, like, Hollywood Brown in there. And then you think about, okay, Hollywood Brown potentially could be dealt, or not dealt, but just outright let walk next offseason. Yeah. And then cutting DeAndre Hopkins now, I mean, it is not a glowing endorsement on the ex-GM.
Dylan Richards, loyal viewer of PHNX Cardinals. I always thank for your viewership and your loyalty. How do we not get a 7th for D-Hop? LOL. Look, yeah, $19 million. Teams just didn't want to take on $19 million for DeAndre Hopkins. What else we got in here? As far as Rondale. Looked great against Vikings defense and DBs, but you know who looked better? Greg Dortch. It's really interesting. It's really, I mean, when you start to look at it, you know, who could they move between now and the start of the season?
Let's have a conversation.
I mean, it's Rashard Lawrence is another guy who should never get too comfortable. Lecky Fotu looks like he's played his way at a necessity into a role on the defensive line and starting defensive line potentially. Who else we have?
Yeah, I mean, Colt is on his way to the bench or retirement. Isaiah Simmons is gone now. Who's the other kind of polarizing player for this team that, through no fault of his own, off the field, it just can't stay healthy? It's Rondale Moore. Now, he's had a good camp. I'm not going to sit here and say Rondale Moore is going to be cut or traded, but I think that Dortch is forcing the issue because he is a better football player today. Rondale Moore is a better athlete, may run a faster 40 time. Greg Dortch, as everybody points out in the chat, deserves to start. You're telling me right now, if somebody called and made an offer for Rondale Moore, the Cardinals wouldn't seriously consider that? Of course they would. Of course they would. They've got Zach Pascal and Hollywood Brown and Michael Wilson and Greg Dortch. They could keep Andre Baccellia. They can do whatever they want. I mean, if somebody wants to, because remember next year, Rondale Moore, his money goes up as a second rounder. It's not a ton of money, but at the same time, it's not nothing, right? I can see in the chat Ryan saying, could we get a 4th for Rondale Moore? You'd probably be looking at the similar compensation for what you got for Josh Jones, a 5th rounder.
Yeah, probably.
Is that worth it to this team? Are they ever going to extend? You have to ask yourself, is Rondale Moore in their plans beyond this year? Like, what is the best version of Rondale Moore? Because I personally do not see a scenario in which this franchise extends Rondale Moore. Like, Rondale Moore turns into like a 1,300-yard all-purpose player, 10 touchdowns, and like, yeah, we want to lock that person up. The philosophy of this offense, save for Greg Dortch, who plays bigger than he is, big physical receivers, over 6 foot. We always talk about Drew Petzing had no wide receivers under 6 foot in Cleveland last year. I mean, if I'm Rondale Moore, it's like the Will Smith gif. I'm looking around and I'm looking at everybody who was drafted by Steve Keim. One by damn one, they're all gone. Yeah. Right. And so he just needs to keep doing what he's doing, because I'm happy. You know, Colt did not produce. Isaiah did not produce. Rondale's having a nice camp.
He is. He's having quietly a very nice camp. I think he's a guy that quietly had one of the few that had a decent joint practice the last 2 days in Minnesota. Roscoe, who's a return man. That's Greg Dortch.
For now.
Yeah. Gannon Knight. It still makes 0 sense to keep Kyler and Pup to start the season if he can be back by week 4-6 realistically. Well, I mean, if you keep it's 4 weeks minimum on Pup. So, I mean, and you get the roster spot. You have 5 quarterbacks currently on your roster.
It's so much better too with Joshua Dobbs, because like Dobbs is not Kyler Murray athletically, but he's comparable, right? And you can have them work together. Tune can move. Like I feel like the offense is just, there's similarities with what they're going to do with Dobbs and what they're going to do with Kyler. Like nothing is similar to what Colt McCoy can do with the QB room as is right now. I think right now we need to prepare ourselves with this move. Kyler Murray probably out until at least like early to mid-October.
Yeah. We heard from Monti Ossenfort. This was via, I believe, Jose Romero of AZ Central. He was out there at the joint practices. This was after the Simmons trade, but before the Josh Jones and Joshua Dobbs trades, I don't think anybody anticipated the flurry of moves. But this was what the Cardinals GM had to say at the time about Simmons.
The situation presented itself this morning, and just where we are in camp, where we are in the team, we thought it was the right move to make for us, for the team, and just moving forward. You know, we wish Isaiah the best moving forward. He's been here the last 3 seasons, and you know, wish him the best going forward. But just for us, as a team where we're at, we just thought it was the best move to make.
Monti, is it as simple as he just didn't perform well enough to be on this roster moving forward?
Yeah, I think, you know, those are always considerations that come into play, and you know, we've had the month of training camp now and the 2 games, and you know, hey, there's everybody on our team. There could have been better performances for everybody. There could have been, you know, some guys did some good things, some guys do some bad things. So, you know, really it just came down to the opportunity, you know, and where we were at with the team. We thought it was the right move.
It came down to opportunity. I mean, it takes a special player to deploy 3 safeties, and I just don't think that Simmons at this point in his career was there or up to the task. Like, I think that now they'll go probably move JT back to his familiar role, right? Instead of having to play the slot, and then you find somebody a little bit more coverage ability to play your slot, your nickel position, maybe play the role that like Avonte Maddox played for JG last year in Philadelphia. He's more of a traditional corner instead of a safety trying to play a corner role. We talked to Gannon. This is what Jonathan Gannon had to say. This is just really about Isaiah Simmons.
No, you know, we're always going to make decisions predicated on what we think is best for the team, and wish Isaiah well, but thought that was the best move for us as we sit here today. I don't think it was an issue about what Isaiah, he did everything that we asked him to do. It's just moving forward, we feel like this is the best way how we want to play football against other people. So we're going to try to put the best guys out there that can function and do a good job for us, and that's what we felt like. Yeah, like I said, he did a really good job. Everything that we asked him to do, he did. It's just, like I said, we're going to, you know, do what we think is best to do for the team, and that's what we did.
Coach, back to Isaiah, do you think a change of scenery is good for him in a way?
Not sure. I wish him the best.
He's not even going to commit to a change of scenery.
Good luck to you, Isaiah. Get out. Get out of our locker room.
I don't know. He's not my problem now. I mean, sure. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm going to play Keitrell Clark, who is a 6th rounder out of Louisville, and I don't want you in my defensive backfield. That's what he's telling you. Please leave. Goodbye.
Yeah, it's so now, I mean, you start to look at this defense, and there's changes that are going to be made, but I think that this is a team that is going to roll with the guys who are buying into this completely, and guys that they envision or have an inkling that could be part of the team beyond 2023. And I see that Josh Jones for a 5th-round pick is idiotic. He's a backup swing tackle. He wasn't even the swing tackle, and he wasn't under contract beyond this year. I mean, I don't know what value that has.
We got to be fair, guys. We can't say Steve Keim was terrible at his job, which he was, and then act like his picks were great. I mean, like, when you bust hard if you're Isaiah Simmons. Josh Jones is a backup, even though he plays a premium position. That's why they could get something for him. Like, to my co-host's point, like, you couldn't beat out Kelvin Beachum.
Like, when Titus Howard comes back, you think Josh Jones holds on to the right tackle spot?
No, he's just insurance for them, right, and he's worth more to them than he is to the Cardinals. Cardinals had a surplus. They dealt from it. They got some draft compensation, and they moved off of a player that Ossenfort had no ties to. Didn't draft, and then is not under contract. He's not cheap for 2020. He's not an option for this team in 2024. You think they wanted to go into negotiations with a player that wasn't going to start this year for him, that wasn't going to play, presumably? So, I mean, it's just, at the end of the day, guys, like, if you weren't a draft pick or a signing from this team, like, they have no allegiance to you.
What do you think about Arizona Animals' take here? You don't tackle Casey's backup quarterback, you're out of here. What do you think? How did that play where he pulled up on Steve Bichelle, you think it played any role in him being sent out?
100%. 100%. We talked about it.
You don't think it was already something they were thinking about?
I mean, probably, yeah, because we've been hearing back to the spring, like, he's into himself. They're going to try and help him. They declined his 5th-year option. I asked Monti Ossenfort at the combine, like, did you make a decision on his 5th-year option? He said no, which meant no, by the way. They had kind of determined that early on. They literally were trying to build him up so he could go have success elsewhere, and they could get a comp pick. They couldn't even get through the preseason. He's quitting on the team in the 2nd quarter. Like, that's everybody sees that, Isaiah. That's on tape for everybody to see, including your teammates. That kind of message will not be tolerated. That could be tolerated by Cliff Kingsbury and Vance Joseph, and it was. It's not going to be tolerated under Gannon and company. Like, they will play somebody at that position this year, third safety, fourth safety, whatever, that is infinitely less talented than Isaiah Simmons, and they couldn't be happier about it because they don't want that as an example in their locker room. And so I'm sure it expedited conversations with teams like, you watch that film. We talked about it Saturday night against the Chiefs in the postgame show. That's embarrassing. It's just an embarrassing thing. And we call it. It's like, this is the beginning of the end. Whether it happens this week, next offseason, like that's it. You don't come back from that.
Yeah. It was, I mean, that's an indefensible play. It's an indefensible play.
He's out there with guys that aren't going to be on the team anyway. He was out there with practice squad level guys. They're just like, Isaiah, go make a play, get some confidence, do something, elevate these guys. And they're just getting carved up by, was it Blaine Gabbert at that point?
No, it was Steve Bichelle.
Oh my God.
Guy from Texas.
Good luck to Isaiah,
the best
man.
Former Texas quarterback that was
he
on the
snubbed
field
this
that
show
night.
twice because he was big timing us. And he thought he was big timing in the preseason, missing tackles. I mean, at the end of the day, like, not to dog on Isaiah Simmons, the person, but he walked around Radio Row with a handler on media day.
Yeah.
And it was like, he went on all the national shows. And this guy hadn't accomplished anything in the NFL. He hadn't accomplished anything. He's never been to a Pro Bowl. He was barely a starter. He got benched from Vance Joseph. Cardinals basically, they didn't cut him, but they basically cut him today. They traded him to unload his salary. It was just a hair away as a seventh rounder from, you've been cut. We don't want you around here. That's what the Cardinals and their new regime think of you, Isaiah Simmons. Goodbye.
Yeah, it's going to be an uphill climb for Simmons to prove himself at the NFL level now. Like, this is a wake-up call. This is an opportunity. He gets to go play for a really solid defensive coordinator who's as innovative as they come and could take a guy and find a place for him. But the idea so far that I've seen today is he's going to go play linebacker again in New York, a position that he's been on record saying he doesn't want to play. We'll see what Wink Martindale does. Martindale had his hands already on Patrick Queen, and Queen has kind of the same issues that Simmons had here, where it just, like you saw, if you look at the numbers, you can say, okay, you can make a case for him. But if you look at him each and every week, say, hey, where are the big plays? Or, I mean, in last year it was more, here are the big plays. He had 3 to 4 game-changing plays, but consistently, like covering guys, filling holes, or and meeting ball carriers consistently, it just didn't happen.
And it'll be an indictment on Gannon and Ossenfort if he goes and does well elsewhere.
Yeah,
and
Cards universe, you're absolutely right. It's going to haunt him forever. Turning us down, accepting an interview.
I don't have to pretend to be like
accepting
nice to
an
him
interview
now, at least,
and then not coming on the show. What's it been like since then?
Well, first of all, if you snub us multiple times, but you're a badass on the field, like that, whatever, that's good. I'm happy for you. Dude is, I mean, I think on pace to like be out of football in a couple of years. Like, I'll come out and say that. Like, what, he doesn't have a position. He's basically been left out to dry by 2 regimes now, benched by Vance Joseph, almost cut by JG and Ossenfort.
Yeah.
And this is like somebody in the chat earlier. It's like, does he even make the Giants roster? I don't know.
What do you guys say to the thought process that Hassan Reddick was terrible and then figured it out at a different position?
Well, you talked about it earlier today.
Yeah.
He had 12.5 sacks on the way out from Arizona. Keim couldn't even do that right. Couldn't even extend Hassan Reddick.
Right.
Like,
but
he found his position.
Yeah, he found it. That's the biggest key. He found out what his role was at the NFL level that he could be successful at. Now he's thriving at it. He's one of the best pass rushers in the league. But David, I think as far as Simmons, like the biggest challenge is, where does he play? He was playing center field safety for the Arizona Cardinals. A team just traded for him with an idea that he's going to play a different position. We have no clue what that's going to look like.
And what do you pay for that? You don't pay much for it. You're also not going to pay much if you go to Circle K with our friends here at PHNX. Right now, buy one, get one free 32-ounce Polar Pop. Hello. Join the SMS subscriber club, 31310. It's fantastic. Listen, the takes have been hot all day, so you want to go hydrate from these takes. Among other things, go pick up, I don't know, a 32-ounce Polar Pop. I do the unsweetened iced tea. I may dabble, though. I may get a Diet Coke post-game show. Buy Powerade at 4 for $5. You could be entered to win one of the 10 finalists. Get that 2023 Ford Big Bronco SUV. You might need that right now. You can't get your car back from the shop. you might go dabble at Circle K, enter
Yeah.
yourself to win a big
It's
Bronco.
probably the best move. I think that I have about as much of a chance as the Giants cashing that 7th round pick in for Isaiah Simmons becoming a stud.
Yeah.
And me running that Bronco. That's
Cir-
what it is. It's the lottery ticket.
Yeah, that's great. And we do it with Circle K, the best beer, coffee, snack selection, premium gas at not a premium price. Again, don't know where a Circle K is? Let me help you out. CircleK.com/store-locator to find the nearest Circle K to you.
Absolutely. Also, we're going to get to a ton of these super chats.
You guys are awesome.
Yeah, you guys are crushing it. But being a PHNX listener viewer just got a whole lot sweeter. Thanks to our friends over at OG's Brands. That's right, OGEEZ Brands.com, where you can see their whole product line, but we can also save you some cash while you dabble in some OGs. Right now through August 31st, for at least one more week, you can get 25% off 100 milligram bags of the fruits and the creams at the Arizona Flower Shop locations. That dispensary, the Arizona Flower Shop, you can get in there right now, get 25% off 100 milligram bags of the fruits and the creams from OG's Brands. Go to the flowershop.usa.com, place an order online, use the discount code PHNX. You can see the little banner below me. Use that code PHNX and you'll get 25% off at the Flower Shop when you order online and you go to their location to pick it up. That's right. The deal is exclusive to our PHNX listeners because that code is PHNX. It's available only for online orders that are picked up in person. Discount PHNX. It's active until August 31st. So go get that. Continue to flavor life. Time to churn through some incredible super chats, awesome questions, and comments here from the viewers here. Let's start with AZ Fan. I believe in Monti cooking. Isaiah was a bust. Yeah, Ossenfort continues to seem to strike all the right chords, right? From draft day, from trading from third overall to 12th overall to back up to 6th overall, and then continuing to stockpile picks in the 2024 offseason. It's great. Gannonite with a super sticker. Thank you for the $1.99 super sticker. Fishbowl Flash, $5. Thank you very much. Do you guys think that Dobbs trade means that K1 is staying on the pup for week 1? I think that there's a really good chance of it. We're going to find out, obviously, at the end of this weekend. The Cardinals need to make a decision by Tuesday when the rosters are due, and they need to cut down between Saturday, the preseason finale, and Tuesday at, I believe, 1 o'clock AZ time. So we're going to find out soon. Ben Wavy, what do you say, the critics that question us giving a 5th-round pick for Dobbs but letting Simmons go for 7th? It's all about market, right? One's a guy who the Cardinals viewed as a viable option at quarterback, where the rest of the league didn't see Isaiah Simmons is something that they wanted to spend much in draft capital on, so they could only get a 7th-round pick. I don't think he had much value. No fifth round or 5th-year option picked up. He's in the final year of his deal, and he doesn't really have a position that he's thriving at. Logan Little, hey, Bo and Johnny, daily Spotify listeners sneaking in for a live show. Thanks, man. I'm glad you could check it, Logan. Probably be blowback, but would you have traded a 5th for Lance? Oh, by the way, #Team Tune. Johnny, I'll let you answer that one.
Hell no. Joshua Dobbs is a better football player than Trey Lance is. And he has a familiarity. He can start, I think, right away. Trey Lance is a project, which that's like Clayton Tune. It's like be having a couple Clayton Tunes in your locker room, and they don't want that, right? So respectfully, no, I would say no to Trey Lance. I just put out a tweet. We'll get back to the super chats.
It's gotta be phenomenal. Tell me, what was in the tweet?
Well, I got texted from a source close to the show, and I put it out on Twitter that the Cardinals still have every intention of playing Kyler Murray when he's healthy and ready this season. Oh. So for all of the talk from JPA football and
suck a butt.
And these spam Twitter accounts, and they follow me respectfully. Like
Pro Football Network is trying to be a legitimate organization. They're putting out trash like that.
Cardinals.
That's disappointing.
I'm told that still are going to play Kyler Murray this year.
They have Trey Wingo on their roster, and they're putting out garbage like
that. Everybody calm down.
It had Dobbs, Joshua Dobbs, signs that Kyler Murray is not playing this season. What are we doing, guys?
He's going to play at some point this year.
Big thanks to Eric Kufner, $5 super sticker. You the man. Free matter for the blind. Loyal listener, viewer. $5 super chat. What do you say? I'd like to see Monti try to tell Buddha or K1 or Kazir White to tank. LOL. They would smack him. No doubt about it. It's a rebuild. They're rebuilding. And, the roster might be set up, to tank. or not win games, but the coaching staff, the players within that locker room, they're not thinking that. They absolutely aren't.
I love this from Blake here. $10 super chats. Thank you so much. So generous. Playing Colt would have ruined the development at receiver 100%. And I think that is one of the biggest reasons. Just offensively, it ruins the morale. It ruins the development of guys that you're trying to evaluate, like Rondale Moore, like Zach Pascal and Trey McBride and Michael Wilson. Like Joshua Dobbs, you'll see it. He can get the football out and he can move and extend plays. Like they're outside of what you've talked about. Colt McCoy, great guy, coach on the field. There was no other benefit to having him as your quarterback. Even if they start with him the next couple of practices, it's going to become blatantly obvious. Like we got to pull the ripcord here with a guy that's just more talented.
Yeah. Jalen Blair with a great super chat. $10. Thank you so much.
You're the best,
Keim
Jalen.
hurt this organization so bad, man. It should be a 30 for 30 on what he's done to this team. What if I told you, man, brought a franchise to its knees, downing the bird for 30 for 30. That's unbelievable.
I'd
writing
pay for
right
that
there.
video right now.
Absolutely. I can see that open right now. And it probably would crush Swamp Kings, which was a tremendous letdown in what they omitted. And I wouldn't want anything omitted from the Keim 20 plus years. 20 plus years he had the ear of the organization decision makers, and he was the GM for 10. Unbelievable. AZ fan 1998. This is an easy answer. Why is there a rumor the Cardinals are sitting Kyler all year? Because it's from it's
from not a reputable
source. It's not reputable. It's uninformed, and it's just grasping at straws.
People
and it's
are
irresponsible.
Yeah, it is, and people are posting things. It's low hanging fruit today. Like, oh look, the Cardinals are trading players we know of. That must mean they're tanking. So let me put out something that people can't dispute. Like Dove's comment, like they'll never admit this, but they're doing this.
Right.
That's not what's happening.
It's because Elon made Twitter interactions get you more money. So
yeah,
that's
really
right.
At the end of the day. I mean, listen, I want those sweet Twitter dollars, but everything's factual. Damn it.
That's right.
$2 super chat from Diego Perez. You guys are awesome today. I bet Johnny. Jesus.
He paid $2.
Were you looking at me while I read this purposely? I wonder why you kept looking at me. Diego, we love you, my guy. I
didn't know if you were going to Ron Burgundy it and just read the teleprompter.
This has been a big day for this program. I'll just say that. And we grind. You guys know this. We do 6-7 shows a week. We're constantly diving in to provide the best content for you all. And at the end of the day, it's nice when it comes to fruition like this. Banging the drum. That Joshua Dobbs was their target, having that, fulfilled and solidified today. Banging the drum that they didn't love Isaiah Simmons, that comes to fruition. Banging the drum that Colt McCoy was under fire. No other program told you over the course of the last couple of weeks, like they wanted to give Clayton Tune a shot to beat out Colt McCoy, and Tune couldn't do it. So now they're getting somebody else in here that does. All this information, we're not grasping at straws. We're not fabricating this out of thin air. Like this comes directly from people we trust to be able to give it to you each and every day. So hopefully we've instilled a little bit of trust over the course of the last couple of months because it's fun to bring you guys this insight.
Yeah. Isaiah and Josh, second rounder this year for Jonathan Taylor would have been a good deal. Just don't think the Colts would have been in that business. Kyler Wren saying purge the chum. Is that what you're talking about as far as the roster goes and the Keim picks? Animal TV, interesting question. Dobbs play this weekend. So our co-host, Britton Golden, was keeping us up to date as far as the first game of preseason week 3. And the Steelers were playing their starters.
Mm-hmm.
What did he say? A couple series already, right?
Yeah.
So like I've maintained, there's been different philosophies on this. And Jonathan Gannon is not somebody that's just going to outright tell you who's going to play and how long they're going to play. He's been pretty tight-lipped the entire preseason as far as how long Colt or Tune's going to play, but they have reps in mind and stuff that they evaluate on a week-to-week basis based on a player-to-player basis. Really going to be interesting. I think it'd probably be too soon for Dobbs, but obviously with his knowledge of the system, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. But I don't also think it's. I think Colt McCoy probably plays on Saturday.
He needs to.
Yeah.
If I'm Colt McCoy and I'm like, well, I got to be able to make a case for better or worse. He needs to go out there and sling it around with whatever ones they put him out there with. But this is going to be a very, very interesting preseason game 3. And of course, you can follow it here on PHNX Cardinals pre and post game show. that I think that even for somebody like Clayton Tune, everybody's playing for something now Saturday. Unless do you think there's a possibility it could come out in the next 24 hours like Colt McCoy? They pull a Trey Lance, right, with John Lynch and company. They say we're going to give Josh every opportunity to be our QB1, and Colt McCoy retires? Or do you think you have to cut me and give me some of that money, or I'll retire and we'll make it work? Do you think something comes out in the next 24 hours before the game?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I mean, there's a walkthrough tomorrow, and they're just coming off 2 pretty intense practices. Santana saying, how did practice look today? So all reports coming out of Eden Prairie, Minnesota, where the Vikings train, it was better, but it was still advantage Vikings on both sides of the football. I think you saw better play from McCoy. You saw better play from Clayton Tune, who got reps according to Darren Urban of AZ Cardinals.
And what does that tell you? If they're putting Tune out there with the ones, and then they're jet setting Joshua Dobbs into town, what's left for Colt McCoy? Scraps?
Yeah.
It's not even worth it. You're going to have to give Dobbs every opportunity with the ones. There's nothing left for Colt.
Yeah. Keitrell Clark tweeted out after practice, just giving props to the Vikings receiving corps, and it's a pretty sick corps. I mean, it's Justin Jefferson, it's Addison, right? KJ Osborne's one of the best third receivers in the game. Once they get up to full strength, obviously add TJ Hawkinson on there. They're having a pretty easy time in their one-on-ones with the Arizona Cardinals cornerbacks. But from what all the reports said was the Cardinals had a much better performance today, but still didn't match where the Vikings were, who I think are going to be probably if not the contender in the NFC North this season.
The Cardinals want a quarterback that can emphasize their run game, that can move around, that can complete short to intermediate throws. I mean, can anybody right now tell me if there's a huge difference between Jacoby Brissett and Joshua Dobbs? Jacoby Brissett, who made Cleveland competitive while they waited for Deshaun Watson last year. I saw Jacoby Brissett look like ass against the Commanders a couple nights ago. I wish they would have played him all throughout the second half. I would have won money. Baltimore, shit the bed against Jake Fromm. Like Jacoby Brissett and Joshua Dobbs right now are very comparable players. And that's exactly what Drew Petzing wants. They want to get the baton to Kyler Murray whenever he does come back. And they said, Colt, will give you every opportunity. You can be our Jacoby Brissett. And he fumbled the opportunity. He failed, and now they're having to make adjustments on the fly.
Yeah. Hunshot first. I'm going to pay Colt McCoy a cameo shout out to Bo and Johnny.
Listen,
make sure he emphasizes the shout out to Johnny.
Just give us a super chat instead. I'll pretend to be Colt McCoy. Don't do that to our guy Colt McCoy, because again, we joked.
Can we clean some things up? I mean, I don't think we have to clean it up. I think it's lost, obviously, in the competition or the poor play. There's a lot of respect for Colt McCoy and what he's done for this organization, but Father Time remains undefeated, right? And, my case for Colt McCoy was I thought that, and also more in line with what the organization believed, was that they were going to err on the side of experience and not throwing Clayton Tune out there too early. That was my entire case. There wasn't me saying Colt McCoy is the truth.
That was you.
Right.
That was you.
And it was never you saying, hey, Clayton Tune's ready for prime time either.
I was of the mindset anything's better than number 12 right now. And then I admitted this week, this is less about Clayton Tune and more what are we doing here, guys? I was we're begging on the podcast yesterday, make a move, do something. But we thought I was wrong. I didn't see this trade coming. That they were down too far.
Yeah.
But we got to thank your guy, DTR, making Joshua Dobbs available.
It is weird how that happened. Your boy, DTR.
All my guys are doing well this offseason.
You had a phenomenal day. You need to go buy a lottery ticket today.
Well, listen, it's not luck, though. That insinuates it's luck. This is hard work in the grind. Thank you very much. This $9.99 super chat. Thank you so much. I want to get to this one. Damon, I think it's from Sumix in the chat. Love the show. Hope Rondale finds a solid place in the offense. As a lifelong Purdue fan, I would say, Rondale, I give him grief on this show because he can't stay healthy. Just keep doing what you're doing, young man. And you'll either succeed with this franchise or somewhere else. He's got a skill set that people value. I just think Greg Dortch right now is a better fit for what this team wants to do. But there's no reason why they can't have both on the roster and utilize both. So, and I really liked the play call by Drew Petzing last week against Kansas City of the end around quick dive play to Rondale Moore. I thought that was great.
That was the best run play he's been a part of in his career, and he ran a lot under Cliff Kingsbury.
This team needs juice offensively. He's got juice and game breaking ability. So I'm with you, Sumix, and it's good to see him healthy.
Absolutely. Probably bad news for your former Boilermaker David Blau and his chances of making this team. Dobbs 58%, 400 yards in 2 starts, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. When you think of that Tennessee offense and where they lacked in the wide receiver core, I think he's got a better array of wide receivers here in Phoenix, no doubt about it.
I want to get to a couple more of these super chats. You guys have been fantastic today. If you haven't already, please hit that like button.
Yeah, let's
subscribe.
get to 100 we need 4. It's simple.
4 more, at least. Hit that subscribe button here. It's been a banner day for PHNX Cardinals. Thanks to all of you. Free matter for the blind, $5. Cards fans, anyone who tells you Wink is going to make Isaiah a great linebacker, just say 2 words to them, Patrick Queen.
That's what
I think nobody for the Giants is going to come out and say, like, we traded for this. Nobody associated with the Giants. Their fan base is a different story. Nobody on their coaching staff or in their front office is going to say, we traded for this stud player. They're going to say, hey, we're going to take a shot on Isaiah. We think he can help us.
Yeah.
Their franchise has got their act together now. They're buttoned up. But Isaiah Simmons he was traded for a 7th round pick. There's no guarantees for anybody with that price tag. Bees, thank you so much. $5 super chat. Reminder, Cardinals, we have top picking claims. Monti is a waiver wire machine. Plenty of quality RBs, defensive linemen available in the cuts. Trust chat. I think, especially now, Bees, like, I was incorrect. Like, I didn't think they'd make a bunch of trades. I thought maybe they'd trade 1 or 2 players, but I definitely thought they'd cut players and claim players. And now you're seeing that come to fruition. So, again, like, do you want to speculate as to some of the players they could cut ahead of the 53-man roster? We talked about Rashad Lawrence. Is there anybody else that was a Keim draft pick or somebody that was part of the prior regime, like Zeke Turner? Like, you feel like they just signed a linebacker? Like, could he be gone? Anybody who's like a middle to fringe player on this roster, that hold my breath every time they worked out a player.
Yeah. No, we mentioned Lawrence. I think Foe too.
What about Lakeita Smith or Marquise Hayes?
Hayes, he's had a tough preseason.
He did better Saturday
Lacitus,
against
I think
Kansas.
it's a numbers game that I don't think works in his favor. So I think that they were already up against it. 2 late round draft picks, and I think Monty's probably going to go with the guys he brought in, right? Like, and we think about the Josh Jones thing, right? Like, Josh Jones he could play tackle, right? But he was beat out, felt like, by Beachum, and Jones could get you value in return, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he became an asset. And then Dennis Daly, you don't want him to play tackle, but he has the ability to. So he's probably going to find himself on this roster, right? So you start to see that, like, John Gaines is going to be on this roster. Like, it's going to be either or Lacitus or Marquise. Both could find themselves looking for work by the end of this camp. Like, it's very possible.
Cards Universe, Turner is a really good special teams player. If anything saves
got
him,
a lot of those, though.
It's that. But yeah, you're right.
Yeah. If Gardeck has a role in the pass rush, is there any team that deploys a pass rusher that also plays significant snaps on teams in the league?
I'm of the mindset Gardeck, who's had a nice preseason, is only playing right now because the other pass rushers aren't healthy.
You think like once Ojulari gets up to speed, once Cameron Thomas, who's had a decent practice today.
What are we talking about? Yeah,
okay.
But they didn't cut Gardeck yet, and so I think they like him. Right. And we know, Brayton Golden, one of our new co-hosts on the show, likes him.
Yeah.
So he's the opposite of Simmons in the locker room. So if they want to pay him $5 million this year to be on the team, I have no issue with that, as long as it doesn't come at the expense of these young pass rushers. When Gardeck's not performing, you have to perform. And that's the biggest thing. Colt McCoy's not performing. Isaiah Simmons not performing. Gardeck had a sack in the first preseason game. Now, he did leave because of injury. Is he practicing this week?
He hasn't practiced yet, but he's been around the team. He's been in his uniform. I think he's close. I don't think it's anything significant. Let's check out some of these super chats as well, because I want to get to this sweet, sweet draft picks. Yeah, Dana Robinson saying, living for the draft. How many picks can we get? Let's look at what they have right now. Producer Damon, can you show us the haul of picks, including all the deals done today? Damon, by the way, man, this was a full-time job keeping up with this today. Well done. 2024 draft picks.
It was a roller coaster.
That's right. They got their own first rounder. They've got Houston's first rounder. Both project to be top 5 picks. Second round of the Cardinals have their own. They have their own third-round pick. Then they have the Texans, and then they have the Titans that they got in the Will Levis trade. Congrats on Will Levis getting a deal with mayonnaise. Fourth round pick, their own. They project to get at least a fourth rounder from Zach Allen. Then you got your own fifth rounder. You got rid of the Philly fifth rounder, but you still have Houston's fifth that you got today in the Josh Jones deal. Then you got a seventh that you got for that sweet, sweet Isaiah Simmons deal. And then seventh rounder via Cleveland that came over from Josh Dobbs. Look at that. So what's that? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 picks.
12 picks with an opportunity for more. Now, the fourth round comp pick is all but secured for Zach Allen. It's the highest fourth round comp pick this team can get, first in line. So that's not going to go down. If anything, it may go up, but I doubt it. Those, I mean, we talked about it on this week's program, Bo. Those first 6 picks are going to be presumably top 75 picks. And then that bottom half, sure, they could make all these picks, or they could move up and secure a player that they have to have, which I'm all for.
Yeah. Now, Johnny, you can answer Nick's question. No Byron Murray comp pick. Now,
no, he signed for roughly $7 million, and then they went out and signed a couple guys like a Kazir White, like a Yelda Froholt, kind of canceled that out. Now, Vikings may extend him, or they could be the benefactor of him signing elsewhere for a big money contract. But I mean, unfortunately, the league told you what they thought of Byron Murphy. Nice player, not worth a big money contract. Whereas Zach Allen got a premium contract from the Broncos. The Cardinals did not sign anybody even close to a contract like that this offseason. So they're going to get the first fourth rounder comp pick. There's, I think right now at overthecap.com, who do great work, there's like 4 or 5 fourth round comp picks that have been dished out or projected to dish out. Their accuracy is like 99.9%. Cardinals have the first fourth round comp pick. It's too bad it wasn't a third, but I mean, they have 3/3 of their own already. Interesting dynamic, but I can't see anybody else on this roster they could deal for picks at this time. We talked about it. They had a surplus of tackles. We had projected that either Beachum or Josh Jones. I did not think they'd have the stones to trade Isaiah Simmons, though.
But it happened today. Monti Ossenfort continues to show that he's got big ones, right? When's 53? Michael Evans asked. It's going to be next Tuesday. Dylan asking Garrett Williams, is he going to start on the NFI? That's what he's currently on, the non-football injury list, because he sustained the injury in college as he continues to make his way back. I got to imagine he's close, and it's going to be real close to the deadline come next Tuesday. Benjamin Sheesh, this team will sure be looking completely different in the next 1 to 2 years. No doubt about it. I mean, from top to bottom, they were really building towards consistent success, and that's not something that this organization is used to. What we're used to is consistent success in all of the events that we have here at PHNX.
Right.
We even have a new event that's going to be going down in October when the Arizona Cardinals hit the road to Seattle. They're taking on the Seahawks. Don't miss out on the PHNX road trip going on. The game is October 22nd. Our road trip's going to go down in Seattle, the Pacific Northwest, October 21st to 23rd. Head to gophnx.com. You get more tickets, more information. You don't want to miss out on this road trip. It's going to be unbelievable. And, of course, you get access to this unlike anybody else just by becoming a diehard. And there's more reasons to become a diehard. There's, you can pick out your favorite shirt, get it for free, including that Greg Dortch t-shirt. Favorite merch, we got all that going on, plus all the events that we have, early access to everything that we're doing here at PHNX. Just sign up to become a diehard today, phnx.com. Go phnx.com, and of course, PHNX Locker. You get your hands for free on this Greg Dortch t-shirt. Greg Dortch lighting up as he always does in Minnesota today against the Vikings.
I want to ask everybody right now, we appreciate all of you here, the super chats, the likes, the subscribes. Bust out your smartphone, your mobile device. Go to PHNX Cardinals wherever you get your podcasts. Follow, subscribe, turn on your automatic downloads. Bo and I drop a podcast seemingly every day, and we also are known to do an audio-only podcast, and that has exclusive information, content, news that you can't find anywhere else. So again, would be much appreciated. Go to your mobile phone and get the audio-only version of the podcast as well. It helps us immeasurably to get better guests for you, to get more resources, to be able to continue to give you your premier Arizona Cardinal podcast that you can't find anywhere else. Hopefully today was a banner day. I think it was for this program, for this show, for this fan base, everybody in the chat. You guys have been fantastic. Bo and I will continue to do our best to bring you the most accurate insight as it relates to this franchise while holding them accountable, because that's important. We love Ossenfort. We love JG. We said yesterday, not good enough as it relates to this quarterback room. And what happened? They made a move today, something that we signaled back in March came to fruition, Bo Brock.
Absolutely did. We are going to drop soon after we go off the air our grades for the trio of trades that went down today. Look for that short, like it. And of course, when we do drop new content, you want to be set up for alerts. So hit that little alerts button. Of course, you better be subscribed to PHNX Sports on YouTube and, of course, on social across the board, Twitter, Instagram. For Nostradamus, Johnny Venerable, make sure you're following him for all the Cardinals news before it breaks, at Johnny Venerable, and, of course, follow me at Bo Brock. And our guy, Damon Dog.
Damon Dog.
Damon Dog, what's the Twitter handle?
At Damon Dog.
At Damon Dog.
DAWG.
DAWG.
Oh, my God, I love it so much.
We got a dog in here.
We do.
It's Damon Dog. You can join and become one of Damon's dogs every day here on PHNX Cardinals. Guys, have a great rest of your Thursday. We got a brand new episode, barring a fourth trade today.
We'll be back, if so.
Yeah, if so, emergency pod time again tomorrow, 4:30 on Friday. See you guys.